Today our topic is digestive glands. Okay, we did complete the alimentary canal. In the digestive system there are two parts, one is alimentary canal and next one is digestive glands. Alimentary canal used for the food which is enter into the mouth, okay, up to the anus, that is alimentary canal. There are different parts are there in the alimentary canal: esophagus, first pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small intestine and large intestine. Okay. If the food enter into the mouth to esophagus, that is the food enter into the stomach. From the stomach, small intestine to large intestine. The food can carry throughout the alimentary canal. But there are such glands, the glands which are involved into the digestive system for the food digestion. Okay. Today our class is what are the digestive glands involved in the digestion. Okay. We are going to discuss the digestive glands today. Okay. Yes, my dears, actually this is the alimentary canal. Okay. Mouth, anus, yeah, there are parts which are esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, these are the parts in the alimentary canal. Okay. The food which is enter into the this part and food enter into the mouth and they enter into the esophagus and further they enter into the stomach. This is the shape of the stomach. Further enter into the small intestine. This is looking like small intestine. This is the alimentary canal, guys. And finally they reach large intestine, which is exit out the food. This is about alimentary canal. Yeah, there are another part which is involved in the digestive system or digestive glands. Digestive glands mainly they are associated with alimentary canal. That are glands. First initially there is a salivary glands, okay. Next gastric glands, okay. Liver glands, okay. Yeah, there are pancreas which is involved into the digestive gland secretions, pancreas, and intestinal glands, finally intestinal. Okay. We are going to discuss these glands and their secretions. What are the glands secretions? They can secrete enzymes, they can secrete hormones, also some gastric glands. What are the glands? The secretions are involved in the digestion. We are going to discuss in this. Okay. Yeah, each and every one we can discuss. First, salivary glands. Okay. Salivary glands. Okay. Guys, before that there are three types of food we can eat, right? Three types of food. Three types. First one is carbohydrates. Carbohydrates we can eat. Second, proteins we can eat. And third, fats we can eat like glycerols. We can eat three kinds of food. But these three kinds of food they can digest at the same place? No. According to the digestive system, the alimentary canal and digestive glands, they involve in these kind of food into the different areas they can digest. Okay. Carbohydrates, they are simple to digest, they are started to digest in the mouth. First carbohydrate, the digestion is going to take place in the mouth first started, okay, where the churning the food, like we can masticate the food in the mouth. First we can eat the food, we can eat the proteins, carbohydrates and lipids, fats like ghee. If we eat these kind of foods at the same time, in the mastication, if we like masticate the food in the mouth, the first 10% digestion is going to take place the carbohydrates in the mouth. With the help of the glands, salivary glands, they can release saliva. Saliva as enzyme which can break down the carbohydrates only. The enzyme name is ptyalin. Okay? Ptyalin enzyme, okay, they can break the molecules, carbohydrates molecules. Guys, this is the carbohydrate chain, okay, it is the long chain, okay. This chain is break down the carbohydrate chain, carbohydrate chain, they break down. Guys, just think, food is, we can appear that we can see the food, what kind of, if take rice, okay, rice internally the structure is carbohydrates. Carbohydrates mean this is the chain, carbon chain guys, carbon chain, okay, carbon chain, it is completely organic. So carbon chain is there in the food, in the rice, carbohydrates, there is a carbon chain is there. This is the chain is very long. That chain is to break down. That chain is to break down. Where it is break down? Some enzymes are activate. Some enzymes are activated to break down that chain. Okay? Yeah. Carbohydrates is carbonic chain. Proteins are amino acid chain, guys. COOH, NH2 and RH. This is the protein chain like this only. This is the amino acids which is simplest molecule in the protein. We can eat meat, right? Meat, egg, okay? Egg there is a albumin protein, meat is there is a skeletal muscle which is have proteins. If the protein break, there is a amino acid, this structure is appear if the protein break. Carbohydrates going to digest in the mouth, but protein digestion will not going to take place in the mouth. Mean where there is a salivary glands, in the mouth there are salivary glands, they can release the enzyme ptyalin, they do not break down proteins, only they can break down carbohydrates. So in this way, where the protein is break down, the protein can reach stomach. After pharynx they can cross esophagus, they can enter into the stomach. Where the protein enter into the stomach, the J-shaped part of the alimentary canal we can call stomach. If the protein enter into the stomach, there is a started to break down the protein molecule into the simple amino acids. So protein digestion is started in the stomach. Lipids, fats are the carboxylic chain, guys. Carbon plus hydrogen oxygen chain. Carbon plus hydrogen oxygen chain. This can be break down, but this breaking of the chain, there is no mechanism in the mouth, in the ptyalin, where there is this amylase which is like break down this, guys. Salivary glands do not act on the salivary enzymes to break down this, even they do not break in the stomach. If come to the intestine, there is a bile juice and pancreatic enzymes, they can release into the intestine, there is a breakdown of this chain, guys. This is the poly chain. Lipids is the very poly chain. Poly mean many carbon and hydrogen molecules. This is also breakdown. So three kinds of foods they can break down into the simple molecules. Finally, they can release, after simple molecules, they can release energy. After making break very simple in nature, they can absorb in the intestine finally. So, what are the role of the salivary digestive glands? We are going to discuss it. Okay? Yes. First, major digestive glands are salivary glands. Salivary glands. Guys, just see this picture. This is the mouth, these are the teeth. The glands are 3 types in the human, actually 4 types in the human. The salivary glands are 3 types. Okay, you have to remember, this may be asked in the question in the exam. First, sublingual glands. Sublingual glands, they can release saliva. Saliva. Okay, yeah. Submandibular gland. These are the below jaw. Okay, this is upper jaw, this is below jaw. Okay, this is area submandibular glands and sublingual gland. This is back to the tongue, which is parotid glands. Parotid glands. 3 types of glands are there: sublingual and submandibular and parotid gland. Sublingual, submandibular and parotid gland. These 3 types are glands. They can release an enzyme which is to break down the carbon chain in the carbohydrates. First, digestion is the carbohydrates going to take place within this mouth. The mouth itself, they release saliva. Guys, if you see any mango or any fruits, any food which you like mostly, the saliva release from your mouth, right? This is the saliva reason for these glands. These glands are, they can secrete the saliva. These are the exocrine glands. Exocrine glands. Exocrine glands mean there is a ducts in the glands. Okay, they can release the enzymes through this saliva. Okay, yeah, we are going to discuss the type of glands are 3 pairs: parotid gland, sublingual glands and submandibular gland, where we can see here. Okay, yes, and secretion. What they secrete? Saliva, they can secrete saliva. The important of enzyme in this glands, salivary amylase. Salivary amylase, this is the important enzyme for the breakdown of carbohydrates. Okay, the chain of the carbohydrates, they can break into the simpler salivary amylase. There is another name, tyalin. There is another name is tyalin. Salivary amylase, there is another name is tyalin. Okay, yes. The function of this salivary amylase is what? Start the digestion of starch into the maltose. Start the digestion of starch into the maltose. Starch nothing but it is the carbohydrate. Starch nothing but it is the carbohydrates. Okay, that is into the simpler maltose. Maltose is the simplest molecule in the carbohydrate, monosaccharides. Okay, yeah, guys, just look into this. There are different kind of names, okay, in the carbohydrates. The simple molecules are there in the carbohydrates. Glucose is there, maltose is there, sucrose is there. These kind of simplest molecules are there. They can break into the starch or carbohydrate into the simpler molecules. Here, if the starch breakage with the help of tyalin or salivary amylase, okay, they can make into the maltose. They can ask you the simplest carbohydrate name, glucose or maltose. Okay, if the starch breakdown, there is a formation of maltose. Okay, yeah, it is okay. I think are you clear about it? Okay, thank you. Next slide. Yeah, guys, next slide. This is the gastric glands. Gastric glands. Okay, yeah. In the alimentary canal, just to see here, This is the mouth, okay. In the mouth there are glands, salivary glands, they release hormone salivary amylase. They can break down the carbohydrates, which is starch. Starch is the complex to break down into the maltose. Okay? Yeah. The breakdown of maltose, along with that proteins and fats also they come into the alimentary canal, right? This is the alimentary canal. They cross. The first part is esophagus. After esophagus there is another structure we can call stomach. This is the stomach. Starch or carbohydrates, proteins or like lipids, they do not digest completely in the mouth, okay. The proteins and the remaining part of the starch and as well fats, they directly enter into the stomach. Stomach also can release certain enzymes, okay, that is stomach glands. We can call gastric glands. This is the stomach, guys, where after esophagus, this is the stomach. Stomach release different kind of enzymes, okay. Yes, we can, yeah, stomach, the wall of the stomach, they can secrete first HCl, guys. HCl is the acid. This is simplest acid, okay. Yeah, they can use, stomach can release HCl, it is most important. They can release HCl. HCl used for kill the bacteria and activate pepsin, okay. Mean pepsinogen is the enzyme, which is released in the stomach. Pepsinogen is enzyme released in the stomach. Okay, release in the stomach. So this is the nogen. Nogen mean inactive form. Where there is a HCl, release in the stomach, they can active. If the HCl release in the stomach, they can work on pepsinogen. This is the pepsinogen converted into the pepsin. This is active form. Why before they release pepsinogen? Where there is a HCl, after release HCl, that is pepsinogen converted into the pepsin. The pepsin is the active form. If it is active form, it can be used for the digestion of protein. Digestion of proteins. Proteins are digested under the like enzyme pepsin. Proteins are digested under the protein pepsin. Pepsin initially they release in the stomach in the inactive form, pepsinogen. When HCl release in the stomach, HCl can activate pepsinogen into the pepsin. This pepsin is useful for the protein digestion in the stomach. So protein digestion where the started? Protein digestion is started in the stomach. Okay? Yeah, there is a mechanism here, guys. Why stomach do not produce the active protein, active enzyme, which is pepsin? Mean if you don't eat food, your pepsin, which is in active mode, they can kill our stomach walls. They can try to digest our stomach walls. Okay? That's why stomach can release in the form of inactive pepsinogen. When we eat food, then only HCl release. We don't eat food, there is no HCl release. If we eat food, there is a HCl release, they can activate pepsinogen into the pepsin, then pepsin started into the digestion of protein. Otherwise, if it is pepsin actively direct release from the stomach, there is a stomach walls going to damage, okay, through the digestion of that stomach wall is the protein that can be damaged, that can be digest. Okay. That is why mechanism is clear here. Guys, this is the this is the HCl also, they might affect the stomach walls because of it is the acid, okay, it is light acid that may also affect our stomach wall. In that condition, stomach wall produced to release, there is a mucus, stomach wall produced to release, that can be produced mucus. Okay? Yeah, guys, here pepsinogen convert into the pepsin, that is the digest of proteins, that can be digest proteins, and mucus they can protect the stomach lining from the acid HCl. Okay? Yeah, the function, finally the function helps to protein digestion and create acidic medium. Okay? The protein digestion and acidic medium because of this release of enzymes. Just look into this picture, guys. Mucus they can produce from these cells, guys, that is the cells or epithelial cells, that is the cells are epithelial cells, glandular epithelial cells, okay, glandular epithelial cells, glandular epithelial tissue, cells, they can produce mucus, and parietal cells in the stomach wall, they can release HCl. Parietal cells in the stomach wall, they can release HCl. Okay? Yeah, surface cells they can release mucus. Okay? Chief cells are zymogen cells, they can release pepsinogen. Okay? These three types of cells release three types of, like it's acid and HCl and mucus, three types, and stomach release one hormone also, that is gastrin hormones. They release by the G cells, stomach release hormone, that is the gastrin, which is they can release G cell in the stomach wall. Okay? This is about gastric glands, guys. Okay? Yeah, next glands we will discuss. Yeah, liver. Okay? Liver do not produce any enzymes. Liver do not produce any enzymes. They can secrete some fluid. Liver can secrete some fluid, guys. Okay? That is the fluid to help the digestion. Okay? Especially fat digestion going to create by this like juice which is produced liver. That juices we can let you know. Largest gland in the human body. Liver is the largest gland in the human body. In the human body there are plenty of glands. Liver is the largest gland. Okay? Where it is located? Upper right side of the abdomen. Upper right side of the abdomen, liver is there like this. Secretion, what they can secrete? Bile juice they can secrete. Liver can secrete bile juice. Okay? Yeah, it is stored in where bile juice is stored after liver. This is the red color is liver. This can be produced bile juice, but bile juice do not stored in the liver which is produced there, but they can stored in the gallbladder. This is the gallbladder. Okay, stored in the gallbladder. This is the green color is the gallbladder. Okay, bile juice. The function of the bile juice is what? Function of the bile juice which is produced in liver is what? They can help, bile help in the emulsification of fats. Emulsification of fats. Guys, as I told you, fats are the carbon hydrogen chain. Fats are the carbon hydrogen chain, which is chain is very long in nature. This is polycarbohydrate chain. Okay, chain is so long ever. Okay, this cannot be digest. Okay, this cannot be digest. Okay, for the simple mechanism, it can be digest when this bile juice, they can give the bile around the carbohydrate and carboxylic group. Okay, this bile, they are around the chain. Okay, they can make around the chain. Okay, for the ready of the breaking the chain. Okay, ready of the breaking the chain. Okay, so carboxylic group, hydrogen group, this is the break chain. The around the chain, this bile is, they can emulsify. Emulsify means to breakage of this long chain, okay, into the small chain. Okay, around the chain there is a covered of bile juice. Okay, it is further easy digestion for the simple molecule into the convert into the energy in the intestine. Okay, before that intestine they can emulsify with the bile juice. Okay, it is going, yeah, break the fat into the small droplets like this. Okay, yes, neutralizes stomach acid for the enzymes action in the intestine. Guys, there are plenty of enzymes released in the stomach and intestine. They can create acidic. Okay, bile juice, they can neutralize the acidic medium. Okay, for the protection. Okay, this is bile juice. They produce in the liver, they can stored in the gallbladder. Okay, yes. This is liver is over. Next slide. Pancreas. Pancreas. Guys, pancreas, as you know, good at this. This is the pancreas. This is the intestine. The pancreas is located intestine part. Pancreas is the hormonal gland. This can be release enzyme. This can be release hormones. Pancreas can release enzymes, can release hormones also. It is the gland, only gland, they can release enzymes, they can release hormones. Okay. So, where it is located? Below the stomach, attached to the intestine. Below the stomach, here there is a stomach like this stomach. Below the stomach, there is a intestine part which is attached. This is the location. Type, both endocrine and exocrine gland, guys. Both endocrine, exocrine, they can release enzymes and hormone. Exocrine mean, guys, there is a branch, okay, in this is the pancreas, guys. In the pancreas, here a big duct, okay. For the duct, they can release enzymes, gastric enzymes from this duct. So, through the duct they can release, enzymes we can call exocrine activity. Exocrine activity. and they can release hormones directly into this. There is no ducts. This is endocrine activity. Endocrine. The hormones are insulin, glucagon, The enzymes we are going to see, this is the enzymes. Amylase they can release enzyme, lipase they can release enzyme, trypsin they can release enzyme. Three types of enzymes they release in the pancreas. Amylase for the carbohydrates digestion, lipase for the lipid digestion, and there is a trypsin for the protein digestion. Three types of foods and three types of enzymes they can release pancreas for the digestion. Okay. For the amylase, digestion of carbohydrates, okay. Lipase they can digestion of fats, and trypsin they can digestion of proteins. Pepsinogen converted into the pepsin digestion in the stomach, trypsinogen converted into the trypsin for the digestion of carbohydrates in the pancreas. This is the three types of enzymes they can release, and two types of hormones they can release, which is insulin and glucagon. Hormones are endocrine activity, the enzymes are exocrine activity. That is why it is the pancreas both endocrine and exocrine gland, mixed gland. Okay. This is what about pancreas, guys. Pancreas release three types of enzymes: amylase, lipase and trypsin. Amylase for the carbohydrates digestion, lipase for the like lipids digestion, fats, and trypsin is the protein digestion. Three types of digestion, guys. Okay. Next. Okay. Intestine. Next, intestine. Intestine also, the next part is intestine, guys. In the digestive system, this is alimentary canal, this is the stomach. After stomach, this is the intestine, guys. Here there is a pancreas, here liver, this is the stomach. Okay. Stomach can release enzymes, liver can release bile, pancreas can release enzymes and hormones. Next, intestine. Intestine also release some secretions. Okay. What are the secretions? This is intestine. Next part of the stomach, intestine. The location of the intestine, small intestine walls. Okay. We are looking to the small intestine walls first. Okay. Secretions. What are the secretions in the small intestine? They can, intestinal juice. They can secrete. Intestine secretes intestinal juice. That is the juice we can call succus entericus. Function of that succus entericus means function of the intestinal juice is what? The final step for the digestion, the complete breakdown of food into the absorbed form. Guys, carbohydrates, partial of digestion, in the mouth, with the help of ptyalin enzyme, and proteins digestion in the off digestion, partial digestion in the stomach, Okay. Yeah, lipids, partial digestion in the liver. So, this complete digestion is going to take place in the intestine for the intestinal juice, that is succus entericus. Okay. This is what about intestine, guys. Okay. Yes. Three types of glands, here glands, these are the glands. Okay. Salivary glands, they release salivary enzymes for the digestion of starch, carbohydrate, starch, nothing but. Gastric juice, which is released from the stomach, they can release pepsin in the form of pepsinogen, first converted into the pepsin, that is HCl and mucus, also digestion of proteins. Liver, they can release bile juice, which is no enzymes. Okay. They can emulsify fats, mean fat chain is going to break down. Pancreas, they can release pancreatic juice, they can convert that is amylase, lipase and trypsin. There is the enzyme, they can digest fats, all carbohydrates, fats and proteins they can digest. And intestinal glands, they can release intestine juice. Okay. Multiple enzymes are there, complete digestion is there in the intestine for the absorption. Okay. Yes. Next part. Yeah, digestion of food. Okay. Yeah, we did complete the digestive glands. Okay. Yeah, how the food digestion, where the food digestion is going to take place. Okay. The process of digestion, we complete the digestive glands. Now the process of digestion we are going to study in this. Okay. Digestion in the mouth, first buccal cavity, there is a release of ptyalin amylase, which is from the salivary glands, that is useful for the digestion of carbohydrates. Okay. Yeah, by teeth there is a chewing or mastication, break down the food, certain food they can break down in the stomach itself, that is the mechanical digestion. Okay. Yeah, tongue is help for the saliva for the swallowing. Chemical digestion in the mouth. Okay. Salivary glands, they release salivary amylase, that is the amylase, the starch converted into the maltose. Maltose is the disaccharide of the carbohydrate. There are disaccharides, trisaccharides, monosaccharides are there in the starch like carbohydrates. Okay. Yes. Yeah, pH of the saliva is 6.7 pH. In the mouth there is a food they can digest, especially carbohydrates. Digestion is going to take place in the mouth. First digestion is there in the mouth. Next, yeah guys, just look into this. Digestion in the stomach, digestion in the stomach. Okay. There is a mechanical digestion, churning the food with the juice, and chemical digestion. Chemical digestion nothing but chemical reaction with the enzymes. Okay. Yeah, HCl release in the stomach, right? HCl release in the stomach, right? That is the HCl first kill the bacteria to activate the pepsinogen into the pepsin. Pepsinogen into the pepsin. Pepsin can break down the proteins. Pepsin can break down the proteins in the peptones and proteases. Okay. Yeah, proteins are break. Proteins, if the proteins break, there is a peptide chain, peptones. Peptones can break into the peptide chain. Peptide can break into the amino acid. Amino acids are the simplest form of the protein. Guys, just look into that. The proteins converted into the peptones and peptides in the stomach, they do not convert into the amino acid. The peptides converted into the amino acid in the intestine, finally they can absorb in the intestine. In the stomach itself, they break down the proteins into the peptones or proteases, peptones and proteases only. Okay? The final breakdown of the peptide converted into the amino acid, if the peptides break down, they turn into the amino acid, is the simplest form for the absorption going to take place in the intestine. Okay? Yeah, enzymes also release renin, R-E-N-N-I-N, renin, which is useful for the help in the protein digestion in the milk. In the milk there is a protein which is renin, they can renin convert into the paracaseinate and further it can be digestion. There is an enzyme which is renin, which is released in the stomach. Okay? Yes, next part. Digestion in the small intestine. Okay, we did complete digestion in the mouth, digestion in the stomach, and next digestion in the small intestine. Okay, small intestine, there are three parts, guys. This is the stomach. After stomach, this is the small intestine. Guys. Small intestine, first part is the duodenum. First part, this is C type, C-shaped part is called duodenum, which is connected with a sphincter, pyloric sphincter. Okay, they can release, which is connected, duodenum, the part is connected with the pancreas, and they connected into there is a bile duct which is gallbladder, and pancreas and bile duct directly connected into the duodenum part of the small intestine. That bile they can release from the bile duct which is stored in the gallbladder. Okay, which is stored in the gallbladder, they release directly into the duodenum part of the small intestine. Okay, that bile do not has enzymes, but they can emulsify fats. We did discuss there is a breakdown of fat chains, we can call emulsified of the fats with the bile juice, okay, which is released from the liver, stored in the gallbladder, finally they reach the small intestine duodenum part. In the duodenum part, there is a fats are trying to digest, break down into the small particles. So alkaline medium is there, they can neutralize the stomach acid pH in the small intestine. There are plenty of acids and enzymes they release, they can create a acidic medium in the small intestine. This bile juice, they are trying to get a neutralize that medium, acidic medium. Okay, pancreatic juice we did discuss, amylase is there, lipase is there, trypsin is there. Amylase for the starch digestion, lipase is the fat digestion, trypsin is the protein digestion. Simplest forms, starch into the maltose, fat into the fatty acids and glycerols. Proteins turn into the peptides, guys. As I told you, there is a proteases in the stomach, there is a simplest form, proteases converted into the peptide in the small intestine. Okay, there is a chymotrypsin, they also prepare the proteins into the peptides. Chymotrypsin is the enzyme that is the also protein digestion, that is useful for the protein digestion. Okay. Nuclease enzyme, they can digest the DNA RNA into the nucleotides. Okay. DNA RNA is the nucleotides, they can convert into the nucleotides. Okay. Yeah, this is about duodenum part of the small intestine. Next, ileum. Ileum is the next part of the small intestine. Ileum is the next part of the small intestine. They can contain the enzymes maltase into the maltose. Maltose they can convert into the simplest form glucose. This is the carbohydrates, guys. Maltase is the disaccharide, glucose is the monosaccharide. Okay. Into the small intestine there is a ileum, the part which is ileum, third part. Small intestine has three parts: duodenum, jejunum and ileum. This is the end part of the small intestine. They can release succus entericus. Okay. Lactase mean which is the fat converted into the lactose first. Finally, they release into the glucose energy. Glucose itself to give the energy, guys. C6H12O6 is the glucose formula which is release ATP energy, guys. Okay. Yeah, either carbohydrates or fats. Finally, they can convert, mean break down into the glucose. Glucose itself give the energy. Okay. Finally, they can release energy where in the small intestine. Okay. After absorb this glucose into the blood in the small intestine, that is break down, convert in the blood there is a oxygen molecule, guys. Oxygen molecule, they can break down this glucose into the energy, convert into the energy. We will discuss later. Sucrase convert into the sucrose. Finally, they give the glucose. Finally, they can give the glucose. And fructose also. Peptidase convert into the peptides. Amino acids are the simplest form of the proteins. Peptidase is the enzyme which is the which is the protein converted into the peptides. Peptides finally reach the amino acids. Finally, they can convert into the amino acids is the simplest form for the give energy. And lipase they can lipid, they convert into the fats, guys. Fats finally convert into the fatty acids like glycerols. This is glycerol, guys. 3 carbon hydrogen chain is glycerol, that is the simplest form of the fats. Okay. This fatty acids convert into the fats, this fats convert to the fatty acids in the small intestine. The enzyme is lipase. Okay. Nucleotides convert into the nucleoside into the sugar. Final option, sugar, nitrogen base and phosphate. Okay. We will going to look into that further chapters, what is nucleotide, what is nucleoside, how they convert into the sugar molecule. Okay. End products of the digestion is carbohydrates, end product is glucose, protein end product is amino acid, and fats end product is fatty acids and glycerols. These are the final products of the carbohydrates, proteins and lipids. The final products only give the energy. Okay. Yeah, complex molecules turn into the simplest molecules through the enzymes, they can break down into the simplest molecules. This is what about the digestion, guys. Okay. Yeah. Just look into this slide. The place, this is the place, first mouth, next stomach, next duodenum of the small intestine part, ileum of the small intestine part. What they can release in the mouth, saliva they can release amylase, they can give the action on the starch and release the maltose. Stomach release the pepsin, break down the proteins, turn into the peptones. Stomach also release the renin. Renin can break down the casein in the milk protein. Okay. Duodenum part they can release pancreatic amylase, they can release trypsin, they can release lipase. Okay. Starch can maltose turn into the maltose, protein turn into the peptides, fats turn into the fatty acids. And ileum part they can release maltase, lactase, peptidase, nucleotide, they can turn into the this monosaccharides, disaccharides, peptides and nucleotides. Okay. This is the slide, important guys. Okay. Just quick look into this slide. Okay. Yeah, next. This is the mind map. This is the mind map, how the food digestion, where the food digestion. Okay. First digestion start in the mouth, digestion start in the stomach, digestion in the ileum part of the small intestine, digestion in the duodenum part of the small intestine, where the digestion we discussed it. In the mouth, mechanical digestion, salivary gland, they can release saliva, that starch is the digestion. In the stomach, there is a pepsin release and renin release. Pepsin is protein digestion, renin release, they can digest in the milk. Small intestine, duodenum part, they can release pancreatic amylase, trypsin and lipase, they can digestion of carbohydrates, proteins and lipids. Small intestine, ileum part, maltase release, peptidase release, nucleotidase release. Ase mean that is enzyme. Ase mean enzyme. Maltase they can digest maltose into the glucose. Peptidase they can digest peptides into the amino acids, and nucleotidase they can digest nucleotides into the simple sugars and phosphates. This is the slide guys. We did complete where the glands, digestive glands, what are the digestive glands produces enzymes, the enzymes involved in the what type of food digestion. This is we completed. Tomorrow class there is the assimilation of digestion food, where that food digestion how it is converted into the energy and where they can transport and convert into the energy. We will discuss in the next class. Thank you.